Big up! It's your boy, Mark, an MUFC fan, guys. It's a hot one. You can see your boy is sweating. Germany is like the Caribbean right now, 30 degrees. It's a nice one. How are you guys doing today? Lots of reports, lots of news, lots of interesting stories, and your boy is going to bring some things to you. Nothing new in the transfer window, says Neil Driscoll. But yes, Neil, there's some new news. And I know lots of people are not talking about these things, but let's bring some change and let's introduce some new stories and some new things to the airwaves. Let you guys think about it. Let me know if it makes sense to you. How do you feel? I'm going to start this off by talking about Manchester United interest in 29-year-old Brian Ruiz of PSG. Big up to Irfan Devro in the building. Big up to Neil Driscoll as well. I hope you guys are enjoying your afternoon. I know it's very, very hot in London as well. Rios or nothing, says Irfan. But Irfan, the Premier League, the Champions League winner, 29-year-old, starter for the Spain national team, is an interesting prospect in our midfield, and he can work out. He has a very, very good ability on the ball in close quarters. He has that deep line playmaking ability, and he's very combative as well. Now, I'm not going to say that he's a better option than Rios, but at the same time, it's an interesting situation, and the Parisians are trying to, extend his contract. There's no reports yet on if they are successful at this. However, they had an initial 1 year extension, which they already triggered, and let's see how it goes. I'm not saying that he's coming, Suntos Flow, but I'm saying that it's an interesting option. You know what I mean? And he's not getting the game time that he should be getting. He's apparently bit frustrated with the fact that, you know, young, the youngster, João Neves, is taking up most of that starting minutes at PSG and running the midfield. Now, guys, realistically, I'm not saying that Ruiz will come, but it's an interesting option. And in these kind of things, you can see that it's a player that will suit the way Amorim wants to play, and it might be a move that can pay dividends for Man United. Now, it's left up in the air if he's going to say yes or no if Manchester United does make a move for the player or not. But there have been serious inquiries for the player. Manchester United have contacted PSGs through intermediaries to ask about the availability of the player and what it might possibly take to get the player to Manchester United. Now, moving on from that, I would have to say that there's some shock news coming in the airways that no one is talking about. Manchester United will offer John Duran in a cut price deal, and they said no. Can you imagine, guys? Man United offered the former Aston Villa striker for a very, very reasonable price, and they said no. And this comes amidst, the intense negotiations for Brian Umbremo, whose fee is going to hit £65 million, like I told you all, guaranteed. You know what I mean? There's going to be some add-ons, some achievable, some unachievable, but that's definitely what is going to happen. And that's mostly because Man United wants to pay on layaway. They want to pay some today, some next year, some the following year, some after that. This is not how good business is done in clubs. Most clubs are not really interested in this. Irfan, don't play with me, bro. I know you know who Brian Ruiz is. He's played very well for Spain, and he's definitely one of the players that drove them to that European Championship this summer, or last summer, should I say. Ruiz is old news. See other channels about him this morning. Interesting. What are your thoughts about him, Neil? What would you do you think he would be an interesting signing? How do you feel about it? Since you've seen it, more about information about this earlier, tell me your thoughts if since you had some time to think, and let the chat hear how you feel, my brother. Don't forget Rio is a hard man and goal scoring playmaker. I'm not forgetting that. Richard Rios is a very, very interesting talent. He plays for Colombia. I see him lots of the times. I'm from CONCACAF, right over the water from the guy. Big up to Alien Tenno in the building. Ben Amberbo deal, 50 million or walk away. You know, Tenno, and I know this is our approach to these things. We would not be letting ourselves be held to ransom for these players, but we're not the guys at the DOF, you know? It's this guy Wilcox doing these deals. And since Wilcox is doing deals, everyone's getting 60 mil. Everyone is getting 60 mil, if you know what I mean. 60 mil is the mark. It's quite funny, to be fair, because they talk about cutting prices. I thought we were going to sign younger players as well, Neil, but they're looking to sign 29-year-old Ollie Watkins for £70 million. I don't see how that's a good deal. I mean, he's about to hit 30. He's going to be 30 before next season finishes. £70 million, guys. That's underwhelming. You know what I mean? I'm not going to say that Ollie Watkins may not fit the system. He might just fit the system that Amarim wants to play. But by no means 70 million should be a price United is even considering. Whether or not we've had the situation that we had last season, the rush, the haste, the desperation, these things ooze off of Man United right now, and the sharks in the water, they smell blood. And all of the Manchester United faithful, we can only watch helplessly, guys. You know what I mean? Why not go for Wharton, £70 million? Do you think Crystal Palace are going to try to get 100? I don't know. But I'd try my hand. I would make them an offer and see where they stand. Tenno. No, Neil. It's going to be £70 million for Ollie Watkins. Remember, I told you today, it's going to be £70 million. Everyone's going to say 50. I'm telling you, it's going to be 70. If you guys don't believe me now, when it happens, you know how it is. I still love you guys. You know what I mean? But I've heard that it's going to be £70 million. 60 million will definitely be the lowest base fee that will be accepted by Aston Villa, and I'm not on that. I want to push it. I want to pull to get my hand there. You know I want Rios. Bro, I would have been trying to offer £70 million for £70 million for Wharton and a cheeky £40 million for Rios. I've been so real. Yeah. Stuck that midfield up. Get me Gyokeres. Get me a bagsman up front. You know what I mean? And then we could see what if we could negotiate down. But yeah, guys, I mean, I know Cunha is something that a lot of fans happy about. I'm not saying I'm not happy. You know what I mean? But I think that 60 million price tag kind of fucked us in this transfer window. Because every single club that we're looking at, players from, are looking at, we paid £60 million plus three for Matthias Cunha from Wolves. It's a bit difficult, guys. It's a difficult one, guys. You know what I mean? And I know Rios is that combative type midfielder. He oozes confidence, good close control ability on the ball, very good in progressing the ball as well. Can carry it well, can pick a pass from deep, can play across, can play a true ball as well. He's very, very good, and he has a brilliant shot on his left foot as well. He's an interesting player. 26 years old. I would love to see him in a Man United shirt. You know, he's going to come with that fire, that Colombian aggression, that want, that striving hunger for victory and for success. And I know you guys, you saw the Diego Leone interview. I know you heard what he said. And I have always told you this youngster is a beast. He's a very, very honking of a youngster. And I can tell you for sure that this guy is going to come to fight. It's going to be a dog fight. And if no one knows, and no one says anything, I won't tell you that, but I think he's going to get himself into that starting lineup before the season is over. And I just feel that way because the mentality of the youngster, he's got that monster mentality that everyone is talking about. And you get me Rios in that team? Oh my God. We're going to have a team of mentality monsters that never say die. I remember we used to have those things, you know what I mean? Bro, Neil, I'm telling you, 50 million, 60 million, 70 million, all of that is too much money for this guy. He's 30, he's about to hit 30. Yeah. There's no way that Man United should be signing a player who's almost 30 years old for over £50 million. It's wild. I don't know what to say, guys. I know a lot of people are just going to be excited because he's better than what we have. But better than what we have is not good enough, guys. Better than what we have is desperation. It doesn't make sense to me. Big up to Bali Tech in the building. You know what I mean? And to be honest, guys, I say it like this because the idea that we're going to buy a player just because he's better than what we have, we're not doing ourselves justice. We're not doing Manchester United justice. We're not doing justice to the quality of player we should be looking at. And as much as I might say, I'm not super hyped on Cunha, he is more than just better than what we have. He has the possibility to be even better than that. Yeah? To go to next levels. So he's not just better than what we have. And I don't think we as Man United fans should be lowering our standards to signing players who are just better than what we have. In this moment, what we have is relative. Relative. I mean, some people might disagree with this statement, but you know what I mean? When a player wins some cups and scores a goal that contributes to winning the cups, I think that adds value to the player as well. But let's hear what Belly Tech thinks. What are your thoughts, my bro? Big up, my
Big up to
brother.
big up to everyone in the chat. What we talk about Cunha.
Yeah, we're talking about the Embuemo deal that's
Right.
that they said is pushing us to look for a less cost effective signings. But the probability of signing Ollie Watkins for less than 70 million is really not that high.
Um, it's the art of negotiation, isn't it? I just think obviously this club has a certain level of budget. We're not trying to tamper or fuck around with that budget, and that's where we're at with it. To be honest with you, 60 million is probably clearly the sweet spot for players. This is no different to what we see at City many years ago. There was a situation where they were just buying fullbacks for 50 million, and then 50 million became the sweet spot for a player. You don't spend over 50 million for players, and they did that for many years up until the time when they decided that they were going to go balls deep in for Jack Grealish when they kind of broke their sort of transfer budget type of structure. But that was when they already had an already built team and they just needed what they would probably class as icing on the cake. Um, but up until then, they had like a 50 million limit. So I think if we operate like that for a few years, we should still be able to build a credible team that is capable of going up against the likes of Liverpool, Arsenal, Chelsea, City, and the rest. But yeah, rebuild the tax, 60 million each. The only thing is, obviously, I just don't want them to go down the route of wasting money. Now, I do know that Ollie Watkins is a good player. However, just because he's better than Rasmus, but I wanted a striker that is way better than Rasmus. He's way better than Rasmus, but I wanted a striker that was way better than Ollie Watkins. I wanted a striker that is one of the best strikers in Europe. Is Ollie Watkins one of the best strikers in Europe? No. He's a good striker. I don't know about his European pedigree on the European stage, but he's a good striker in the Prem. But I was looking at one of the best strikers in the world or potentially one of the best strikers in Europe, right? And now it looks like we're going down the route of just saying, do you know what? We've messed up so bad that now we might as well go in for Ollie Watkins. And I thought initially that when we first got that link to Ollie Watkins, I thought he was going to come in and be the backup to to Gyokeres
Mm.
um, because they were going to get rid of Rasmus. So I thought that's where we were going. Now to hear that, oh, he's going to be the main man, in my head, I'm scratching it. I'm scratching it. Like I already discussed with you about going to see 3-4 games next season. Now I'm just like, do I really want to go?
Bro,
And
have the faith, have the faith. If it's one thing I
what's
will say,
Watkins up front? Do I want to go and see that?
bro,
Like,
you can't tell me, right? We go spend 50 to 60 million on on Watkins, and Gyokeres is only 5 to 10 million more. You cannot tell me that, bro. Yeah? Because if that is the case, this is failure. This is self-sabotage. A third season in a row? Nah, bro. A second season for in your self-sabotaging the manager?
and then on top
Nah,
of that,
bro.
how much is Watkins gonna want in wages? Considering his age, do you think he's not gonna want a respectable contract? So he's gonna want to probably get paid as much or more than what Jokeres is gonna want. So yeah, it's just, to me, it's just turning into a crap show, for lack of a better term. And I mean, personally, I would prefer Ekatike than getting Watkins. Like, because I just believe that, okay, well, you're going to get a learner driver now. He could potentially be worth 100 million or more in the next couple of seasons. So why not get him rather than waste 70 million on a
Player who go on
29-year-old
whose
Watkins?
value go on drop, bro. I mean,
Yeah.
Tenno is
As,
saying
as soon as you drive that car off the lot, plummet
it's
in
just
value.
plummet, bro. Neil, we all given Cunha a chance. You know what I mean? Like, to be honest, like, I'm not trying to say that we wasted money on Cunha. I mean, I'm just saying that when we made that signing, the vim, the velocity that we traveled in that moment, the way we pushed that signing through it with haste, 63 million pounds. Yeah. It's one of those things that makes a statement. And it doesn't make the statement that says, yeah, you only have money to negotiate. It makes a statement that you have money to spend. And now, while I said I wasn't super hype, I do believe Cunha has potential to be that guy. One of those types of players that will be what do you used to call them? A franchise player or a club professional. You know what I mean? So a player who will definitely lift his levels and take Man United further. Now, at the same time, I will say that he is going to prove that to all of us when he puts the shirt on. Yeah? But now, what I really said this is because the sporting CEO quoted Matthias Cunha's fee of 60 million pounds, and then he said, "Look, we have a guy who scored 64 goals. How much is he really worth? Is he worth just the same price as this guy who scored 21 goals? Or had 21 goal contributions?" And logic would say, not really. Now, Cunha is Premier League proven, but if you're looking at the perspective of the sporting manager of Sporting, yeah, his players of a higher value and a higher echelon. And that's just the way it's gonna go. So this puts Man United in a not any spot with negotiation wise that where we would like to be. We would not have the power that in negotiations that we claim into fans. But this is only common sense. It's one and two. This is A, B, and C. It doesn't work like we say we go and negotiate and all clubs go and bow down. It doesn't happen that way. When you want to have negotiating power, you have to have cash in hand.
The
Cash
problem
is
is, the
king.
problem is, yeah, they've decided that they wanted to do a rebuild with Premier League talent, right? But the fact of the matter is, these clubs ain't gonna roll over and say, "Oh yeah, you could take our best player, and yeah, he's just gonna go to you on the cheap." And no, they're gonna charge money, and they're going to charge a little bit over the going rate. And that's what happened with Cunha, which was his release clause. We paid for his release clause. He had a high release clause. Wolves forced us to pay the release clause. We paid it. And now Brentford, even though Mbuemo's got a year plus one left on his deal. They want what they want. And at the end of the day, if Man United don't want to pay that, then why? If you don't want to pay what they want for Brian and Buemo, then why did you not buy the likes of a Ryan Cherky? And even though I believe he's more of a luxury signing than anything else, you still had the Trincao, you still had all these other man that's there. If you haven't got the budget for that, then surely you got the budget for them. So I think for me, the club need to actually just be a bit more decisive with their plan. Because one thing I hate when we start the transfer window and then we go from this man to that man to this man to that man. We're literally watching the club go all the way down the list. And then we sign some, you got
Bro,
the A signing, you got the B signing, you
but
got
we
the
going
C
for C
signing.
and D. The only
We,
hit we
we,
might get this season, that bro, like I'm not trying to be pessimistic, I'm positively optimistic, right? But the way they're moving right now, Cunha might be the only A level signing we get because, bro, Turkey was a no-brainer, 20 million release clause, euros. That's 12 to 15 million pounds. That's basically the lowest risk price for a player who have nearly 39 GA this season and last season he had 20, 29 or 31 GA or something like that. So it's not like if this brother didn't improve and it's not like if he wouldn't at least contribute 15 to 20 in the Prem, because he does get a lot of assists. And he was offered to us in the first week of the window by his agent for a cut price. They offered Turkey to United for a cut price. So when you see, right, Man City paid 30 million pounds, we was paying 15 or 20 max with add-ons, a whole 10 million cheaper. And Trincao is 40 million pounds. So let me don't even start there. I got Trincao at Turkey for 60 million. Yeah? No. The club make a decision. Bro, I holding them to this decision. They had to sign them Bremo King. And they still had to go and sign Gyokeres. And if not, every week I will be talking about shit in yourselves, bro. If when this transfer window is over. Because, brother, this is disappointing. It is underwhelming. And let me be honest. Now, this had nothing to do with Cunha. Cunha is going to improve us. Put him on one side. But we need more. This manager needs more. When they going to sign more? At the end of the window? When they don't have enough time to train in preseason? Oh, so we only have one game a week. We have plenty time to let them train. Is this how these professional football heads, the DOF in Mr. Wilcox is thinking? This is how Sir Jim Ratcliffe is trying to run this football club as a Man United fan and owner for Sporting Excellence. Bullshit. This is piss poor, bro. This is disrespectful to the fans. Fans like Neil and Alien Tenno. Disrespectful. Yeah. We supposed to be, before I could bring news and talk about a sign, we supposed to be signing players this summer in particular because why, guys? We finished 15th. The claim is this is the worst United team in over a decade. So where
over
is
a
these
decade.
solutions?
Man said over a decade.
Yeah, I mean,
It's
when we had
crazy.
Cavani and them boys, I can't say that team was terrible. I can't
Now,
say the team with
even
Cavani and all them boys was terrible.
e- e- the the year by year, we just get further and further away from our aims and objectives. There was a period where we knew that yes, we're getting top four. Yeah, at least
Mm?
bare minimum. Now we look around and we're like, bro, when sixth place become but you finished sixth. It was like it was real bad. If that makes any sense, it was like what we really didn't want to do anything but finish in sixth. Now will snap your hand off for 6 because there's finishing 8th. There's finishing 15th now. Like it's literally all time low upon all time low upon all time low. And the next now here's the kicker. We finished in 15th last season. We could have easily finished in 17th or 18th or
Brother.
something along them lines. So, yeah, I put it to you that this club can reach a new all-time low if we don't get the players that we're supposed to get, right? And
Brother.
that's the reality. That's the reality of where the club's at. So if they need to sell the women's team or fucking do some shady shit, they better go and start doing it because at the end of the day, as far as I'm concerned, when your back's against the wall, the only thing to do is what? Come out swinging, right?
Swing in, bro.
So you
Yeah, my
went, you
grandmother teach
signed
me that,
Cunha.
bro.
Yeah, you went, you signed Cunha. Cool. You threw a left hook to the body.
With the right.
You've been messing around with Mbuemo. That's supposed to be a right hook to the body. Now you want to do a right hand over the top? Yeah, that should be the flipping Gyokeres signing. So, as far as I'm concerned, yeah, I can't even let the club escape with thinking that they can sign Watkins and don't go for the guy who you were supposed to sign anyway. Because Watkins is definitely not going to be the answer for us. Yeah, and while we might improve in the short term, meaning okay, cool, we signed him and we're climbing up the table, that money, that the 30 to 35 million or more that you could have added to go and buy someone proper, you've now wasted on this guy who we're going to be trying to ship out of the club by the time he's like 30, 31.
Sponsor.
So, and then he's going to probably turn around and say, oh, but I've got a contract. Yeah. Which now puts us in a situation where we've got a striker that might be dusty in the next 3 years and he don't want to leave the club. So we keep doing this, giving brothers contracts that they shouldn't be on, like Luke Shaw. Like who sanctioned? Yeah. A guy gets injury after injury after injury after injury, and then he gets a new contract. Yeah. He's only given us a top level 6 to 8 months,
Months.
really.
6 months,
Yeah.
bro. Not even 8. 6.
I'm even forcing it for him, but I'm just saying he's only really given us a top level 6 months, all right? So I just wanted to know, yeah, which one of the backroom staff or which one of the people in the background is he smashing? Because I don't know how he was able to get the black pen to put pen to paper to ink a new deal. Because this guy has still got years left. I'm actually shocked that he's still got
Bro.
years left.
Luke
Like it's
Shaw has
mad.
been at Man United 12 seasons now.
12
12.
seasons. So
12, kid.
he must have signed at least 3 contracts.
This is his third contract here. And they give him
Yeah,
a
and
contract for 5 years in the
uh,
third contract.
why is it that why did they not think that we needed a better left back than him? Like somebody please tell me. If someone could tell me in the chat, why did they give Luke Shaw 3 contracts? Somebody tell me, please. Please.
Brother, I think they was just giving the English. No, I'm gonna say that, bro. But Rashford, all them brothers get contract the same year. Rashford, Luke Shaw, who else? About 3 or 4 of them get contracts the same time. All of them.
Yeah, but the thing is, it wasn't you see Rashford, yeah? It wasn't Rashford had
30 goals
um
that season 2 plus. So
no
we go put
he,
you on
he
the side.
even if we put the 30 goals aside, yeah, Rashford showed progression pretty much from
Yeah,
his
but no,
debut up
I'm
until
not
when he
toasting on
started being
Rashford for that, you know.
inconsistent.
It had
Yeah. So, but
justification for why. But
Luke
Luke Shaw
Shaw,
have
no
none.
justification. Yeah, Luke
There's
Shaw,
none.
zero justification for why he was able to get all those contracts. Zero justification.
Well, we criticizing United right now, but there is some salvation, guys. You know, my boy Florian Plettenberg, on the German side of things. Your boy in Eastern Europe side. So, I'll go and bring you some. The news I bring is sometimes predominantly what dictates in the European market of transfer news. And they've been pretty good in the last 2 seasons. I would say that they've been better than the local English journalists on even on Man United. And why I'm saying this because there might be some reprieve. There are reports that Bayern Munich are about to bid a 45 million euros that would go up to 55 million with add-ons for Marcus Rashford, thereby presenting United with a transfer fee that they are asking for the player. Now, this puts a spoke in Barcelona's interest, in Barcelona's move, and the next big thing is Bayern Munich will be willing to pay Marcus Rashford around 300,000 euros and more with bonuses. You know what I mean? So it might be a situation where they can be the ones to save us this season. Like we have given them lots of money last season when we signed the likes of, you know, we signed Delit, we signed Mazraoui, and of course they got a sell on when we signed Joshua Zirkzee. It's going to be interesting to see what's up. You know what I mean? It's going to be interesting. Let's see how it goes. I'm telling you guys, for me, this is very much an interesting deal that you will be hearing much more about in the coming days. I believe Goldbridge is going to talk about this tonight.
So
But
what? Who is this? Who's the? Okay, so he signs for them, right? And
Mhm.
then what? He plays like left wing. Like where's he playing?
Left wing.
But who's already on the left wing over there?
This Serge Gnabry and somebody else.
Okay, maybe he's got a chance. Not yeah, maybe he's got a chance over there. And the way Germany plays, I mean, the way they play in Germany, I'd imagine Rashford will terrorize it over there.
Yeah, I think he
Because
would too.
every time it's weird, yeah, because the German football is quite different from English football. There's a lot of high lines, and there's a lot of like every time you see the best strikers in the German league, yeah, you always see them in like two against three situations or two against two situations. And you think, why so many two against two and two against three and things of that nature? Why so many of these things? You don't really get much of that in the Premier League. You do get it, but it's not the basis of the general goals that people score. But if you go watch any highlights, like even if you watch Ekitike's highlights, which I have, on several occasions. A lot of the goals, you find that he's up against like two and three defenders a lot of the times. Yeah,
Oh,
fair enough. You still need the skills to get past man, but they're not up against the full back four a lot of the times. Like especially when Jaden Sancho was cooking out there. If you remember, if anyone goes back to watch the Dortmund highlights and ask yourself, how come there's so many two against twos or three against twos? How come? That's where these men are shining when on the counter. There's a lot of a counter attacking, and they leave a few men. They leave a few men back, and then these men are able to exploit the few men that are back there, and that's why. That's why a lot of the time the German forward players don't really translate over because in the English league, they ain't going to give you that type of time and space to come and attack what? Unless you're playing against Manchester City and they've left all their players in the attack and they've maybe left two players at the back. But
well,
most of the time,
Chorus,
they have things in place to deal with that.
Chorus kind of contradicting you slightly here, but he's actually a little bit right because in the German league, because of the fluid football that they try to play, they progress the ball a lot and from the back go straight up. Lots of players they play that high line. They're always close to the half line. You know what I mean? Super high line, mate. You know, but at the same time, you know what I mean? It works because when you see their football in the national team, it competes at the highest level in international football, and I think that shows that their style works and it will benefit Rashford. And I'm not saying this because I truly want to be careful on where he goes. I don't really care where he goes, but I would have a few years ago. But now it's more like a situation where it's an untenable situation, and the players not hiding that he wants to leave the club. He would love to play for Barcelona. He's even willing to cut his wages. These things upset me. It frustrate me because Yeah, we've treated you very well for over a decade, and this is how you do us. But it is what it is. I don't know what happened behind the scenes or in totality, but I could see from one side, and my opinion is that he should still have a little bit more cordiality and respect for his boyhood club. But it is what it is. But it's interesting to see if this deal will happen. I think this deal would definitely, put some a boom or a plus under the Man United wings, because that money would come in very handy with FFP, also with the with possibility of helping us sign a replacement or even sign Gyokeres faster. Push through the signing with the likes of Brian and Bremo. I would like to see him come to Manchester United. He is a very consistent player and energetic player. Lots of quality as well. Yeah, high line with inverted wingers is very interesting. You know what I mean? So it's interesting, and it will be more interesting because I think I'm going to see a lot more of these types of players popping up in my country and in my national team. And it's a little bit jarring for me, guys. Don't get me wrong, yeah. I'm not trying to fly the BVB flag, but Borussia Dortmund did something that Man United didn't even do, and my country boasts one of the treble winners. Dwight York is from Trinidad and Tobago, and we don't have a Man United academy in the Caribbean. We have, and and look how long we won that treble in '99. It's been 25, 26 years, and they haven't opened an academy yet. Yeah, and Borussia Dortmund in less than 10 days is launching an academy. You know what I mean? And they're having a inaugural tournament, which will be the first time of its kind in the Caribbean, to inaugurate they're coming to the Caribbean, to Trinidad and Tobago, as a matter of fact. And they will be taking a few of our youngsters on, as if their performances give them the reason to. And I happen to think that they've probably already seen one or two players of interest. A young talented striker from Trinidad called Josiah Calicharan. He's just been signed to Swansea, and I hope to see him soon. And I will be taking a little bit of an eye on Swansea here and there to see how he's doing over the next couple months. But it's going to be very interesting, and I bring this into the show to say that progressive football is something that needs to happen. The English football is one of the weirdest thing, guys. I'm not the hugest England fan. There's been some controversy between England and Trinidad at the World Cup, and I felt very hard done by that. I felt that England should have been given a red card and probably been disqualified from that match. But it is what it is. At the same time, I would say that as a football fan, when I watch the Premier League, the English football team don't really reflect the Premier League. Like usually all leagues, is a reflection of their national team. When they look at Spain, they play the same way the best teams in Spain play. And and I don't see that from the England national team. As a matter of fact, it looks like the total opposite. So when you have players who are very progressive, very attacking minded, you play a defensive style football. And I don't think this works.
No, but
Yeah?
you see the funny thing about that, right? Is when because I grew up in an era where the 4-4-2 was like it was like the
King.
English sort of style of play, right? And we had some phenomenal names that would be in the starting lineup. But you see the problem that the English national team always had? The problem was the tribalism, right? The tribalism killed the team because when we grew up in an era where these players will be in the tunnel and they won't even look at each other. Yeah, they're face forward. They come out onto the pitch. It's war. I kick lumps out of you. I'll punch you up. I tell you to go F your blah, blah, blah. Like,
Yeah.
you get what I mean? That's how it was. That's how it was. Ridiculous tackles. Yeah. And Man United would literally hoover up the majority of the Premier Leagues. So it's no wonder that when you come to the national team now and you guys are bantering and you're like, but where's your trophies? Yeah. It's no wonder that the team wasn't able to play together because of the jealousy and the pride and everything else. Fast forward to modern day. Fergie'd been retired for a long while. Man United have had several shit managers. City have taken over as the dominant team. Um, Chelsea had an error slightly before that, right? Now, all these guys are friends to a certain extent, but they're friends. You know, all these guys hugging and loving on each other and flipping, sliding into each other's DMs and love hearting every single man's post from every single team. And that's what they're doing nowadays. So, yes, the England team have performed better, but it's not necessary. I don't even, the style of play that they're playing, you could argue that it's an English style of play to a certain extent under the previous coach. And they did a lot better than they did under other managers. But I think it's mainly due to the culture that have been imprinted on the team and the modern culture of football where all the players is friends now and they're more friends than enemies as it were. So that's
Mm.
my sort of take on
Facts.
why the national team but there's still, yeah, they're still losers in my eyes because you can't get to the fucking final, see some teams you're supposed to be beating, lose to them, and say, "Oh, but we got to the final, though." No, 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 no. I don't want
Facts.
to hear that because you should have
Facts.
bitch slapped Italy. Italy were fucking. They weren't all that. Yeah, you let them come to the final. You let them fucking win. Yeah, and to me, that's unacceptable. So we move on. Like we have to move on now.
Yeah, we gonna move on. Let me not get into that one day because I would tell you about what Italy do to you all in the final in England. Then they wouldn't like that. But at the same time, big up to everybody watching. Don't forget to smash the likes, people. Of course, it helps the channel grow and helps the channel get to the next possible viewer. So please, if you have the time, smash a like and subscribe if you're new. Top content all the time. We're going to be talking about lots of things. Of course, you guys in the chat can also dictate the show. You guys can also put topics in, for conversation, things that you are thinking about, different things, whether it be Man United, your national team. You know what I mean? Because this is footy talks. This is, of course, we are Man United fans. It's a Man United fan channel. Also a Trinidadian fan, so I talk about Trinidad. Bali's an English football fan. So you know what it is, guys. This is football conversation. And big up the chorus in the building. Yes, they just lifted the back-to-back title. Jamaica failed to recruit Hutchinson and Rowe because of our slackness. Yeah, I mean, Hutchinson should be playing for you guys, bro, to be fair. Big up, big up. Why you going what? Going and talk about Swansea? Why you going and talk about Swansea player from TNT? But I was talking about him just now, Prince. You wasn't in the stream yet, oh. I just talked about Josiah Kalicharan and how we going to be paying close attention to Swansea. There will be one or two streams where we will be talking about them about 5-10 minutes before you drop that message, bro. I literally was talking about Kalicharan, you know. But he's not the only one. And I've some good news for the Trini fans, as Dante Gilbert will be joining up with the national team in the next 3 weeks. You know what I mean? We need to get Mason Greenwood back. And it's an interesting one with that statement because I'm dreading meeting Jamaica. Mason Greenwood should be making his debut at that same time. It's going to be a difficult match for Trinidad and Tobago, but that's why I mentioned Dante Gilbert. And if you know about PSV, you know about Dante Gilbert. Of course, some of you who watched the watch alongs with me, you've seen Dante Sealy. He was also at PSV with Dante Gilbert. Dante Gilbert is going to be coming into that midfield, and guys, I'm telling you, he is going to be very interesting when he comes into the Trinidad and Tobago midfield in the next
I'm
couple
gonna
of
be
weeks. He's
tuning in. I'm gonna be tuning in anyway. For Mason Greenwood to do the one step over, bang shot, top corner. I'm gonna be watching it there. We'll be there.
Yeah,
We'll
I
we'll be
know,
there
I
for his hat
know.
trick. We'll be there.
If that hat trick coming against England, my budget, because Dante Gilbert and Dante Sealy, and of course, my little brother is in Trinidad right now, so who's to know? He might be getting a little bit of a look in right now from Dwight York. Hopefully, fingers crossed. You know what I mean? And you never know, we might have a talent there that might be a killer. You know what I mean? And you never know what could happen because Trinidad is a team on the up right now, especially with the fact that Borussia Dortmund has just come to Trinidad. I've also been hearing murmurs of one or two other German clubs interested in making an academy in the Caribbean. So this has sparked a whole can of worms that could see a revolution of Caribbean football. Football in CONCACAF could be the next big conference that everyone will be interested in. Big up to Fred the Red. Hope you're well, broski. Miko MC Kobe, of course. I got the Miko. You could get the emojis, guys. All the members have them. There are different types of emojis. I have to update my streaming services, and then you will start seeing the emojis coming up on the screen. But they're pretty cool. You should check them out. Get your membership, guys. Gilbert
Do you
is a
know what's
free agent
crazy?
now. Hmm.
Do you know what's crazy? A lot of countries around the world have found ways to tap into the African and the Caribbean market in terms of getting certain players over. So I wonder what, like, now is the time, yeah. Man United and all these other Premier League clubs, they need to start putting some bases in the Caribbean countries, in the African countries, because what's the point of letting them go to places like France and all these other countries, Germany, and then for them to now sell them to us for an inflated price? We're supposed to know about these brothers beforehand so we can do the selling for whatever millions after the fact, after
That
we've
was the
got them to
vision
a
back in
certain
the
level.
day. That was the vision back in the day, but that vision changed. I don't know when, I don't know how, and I don't know who. But what I
Even
can
even
tell
our
you,
South American stuff, we should
bro,
really have our fingers on the pulse over there. Like we should.
let me tell you something. Before you start there, when they say South America, back then, the entire Caribbean and North American conference, CONCACAF, was grouped in that in the South American market, if you understand what I mean. So
Yeah,
when they refer, so back then when Man United, everybody know Man United had the most extensive South American scouting market in the world of football. It wasn't just referring to South America, it's referring to the South Americas in general, including the Caribbean and the USA. And the reason why I'm bringing this to attention is because these scouts are still the main scouts, and they're employees and now the scouts for various clubs across the Prem. And reason why I could say this and I could back this up is because we almost get offered every young top player that we see popping up at different clubs. Belieber, you name it. Enzo Fernandez, he was offered to United before. I could tell you categorically under Ralph Ragnick, we could have signed Julian Alvarez, Enzo Fernandez, we could have signed Caicedo, Gvardiol, as well as Luis Diaz. And where's this other guy name? I keep forgetting his name as well, bro. Sir, we could have signed all them players for 60 million pounds, bro, in one January window. All of them. You understand? So for me, as a Trini, having Dwight York, like when I like bro, I always at Old Trafford. I go and do the walkthrough of the club once a year, bro. It's just be interesting. Every time I walk up into the Hall of Legends and I see that Trini flag and that Trini kit, and I see Dwight York there lifting that trophy, I just feel like I alive, bro. I just feel like, look how far Trini reached from a little dot in the world, 1.2 million people in 2025. And we on the wall in Manchester United and Old Trafford because one of our young talents came there, became a sensation and won a treble. He created history at Man United. And I think Man United needs to do better. English clubs in general, the Caribbean used to be one of the largest scouting bases for the Premier League. It had for a decade, for the decade of the 90s, guys. I don't know if you guys remember it, but realistically, the Caribbean in the 90s had more players in the Prem than South America and Africa. Google it and see if I'm wrong, guys. You
no,
understand?
that's facts. That's facts. That's
And
facts.
and the weirdest thing is that base didn't develop. They never developed that base. It's almost as though there was, they did the continental teams on the South America, like America, Canada, and Mexico. They did them a favor because if they had kept with that base, the Caribbean would be a melting pot for some of the highest quality footballers in the game right now. If we could produce a Dwight York or Raheem Sterling, we produce a Marcus Rashford, a Cole Palmer in this generation, Jadon Sancho years ago. Guys, it have talent in abundance in these little islands. And
But
it's
also, I think that one trick that's being missed by some of these nations is that they don't have the resources to attract players that can qualify for them. So, like, obviously, in the future, hopefully, fingers crossed, if the likes of big players like Mason Greenwood and people like that start playing for like the likes of a Jamaica and a Trinidad and Tobago and a St. Kitts and teams like that, if they start playing for these types of teams, then yes, these teams will improve. But then also there are players that want to play with these players that qualify for those same said national teams that might not be getting a look in playing for England. So it's important that they're able to secure at least three or four top level players so that now he can open the floodgates for certain
exactly
men that were born in England, born in Germany, or born wherever, but they got parents from
Trinidad or
the
St.
other
Kitts or St.
nation.
Lucia.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Go play for them, bro. Go play for them. Go make your family proud because everyone wants to play for England. And yes, the PR is going to be crazy. It might lead you to getting a certain level of fame and whatnot. But let's be real, bro. Not everyone's going to have a long career for England. Some people still waiting for England to pick up the phone. Some people played for England for a little while, and like maybe they had like a season or two in England, and then they got booted out, and then never really got called up again. And some of these man, before you start pledging your allegiance, yeah, there's gonna be countries that you can play for that ain't gonna do you like the way they do you in England because there's always people that are coming through at England. There's always gonna be the next best thing. There's always gonna be the next Rooney, the next Rio, the next Raheem Sterling, the next this man, the next Harry Kane. There's always gonna be that coming through. And if you have a season where you're a bit mid, then you're out of the team. Now, what's the point of that when you can go and play for Trinidad and Tobago, where you're more or less guaranteed your spot on the plane. Maybe not guaranteed a spot in the starting lineup. You still
but you
got to fight for
guarantee a
that,
spot on the
but
plane.
you're guaranteed a spot on the plane. And I think that's what some of these guys have to start thinking about. Try and
100.
improve some of these countries and try and make it more competitive on the international stage. Because sometimes when you play like a England or like one of the bigger countries like a Germany and whatnot, you play against like a Saint Kitts or a Trinidad or Jamaica. Sometimes it's a mismatch, and I just feel like it's because most of their best players are playing for the bigger European countries. So I don't know if they do something where they can make this thing a bit more fair to say you're only allowed to have a certain amount of man in this pool and then everybody else is outside and then they have to go to another pool or whatever it is. Like maybe that's better long term. But I
100.
just feel like all these men trying to wait for England call up is dead. Like
Dead.
look at Welbeck, who like he played for England a few times and then he could have
Nothing.
been representing somebody. He could have been representing Ghana, but look what he had done with his career. Do you get what I
Nothing.
mean? Exiled from the
Exactly.
England squad for God knows how long.
Bro, this is why. When I look at Mason Greenwood, I tell men, I say this youth man is a monster, bro. He will win a Ballon d'Or at some point. He will be on the top of the footballing world in the years to come. Because he had the courage that you don't see lots of young players have now. He will go out into the world and do his thing, knowing that he will do his thing. Yeah. And a lot of players who are these stones, the us to do what he does do and put it out on the pitch. Yeah. And like Forrest is saying there, the Caribbean failed because a lot of Caribbean islands, you know, was so hell bent, and how should I put it? We were so sweet on the sponsor deals that we just get for athletics, because the Caribbean islands are a hotbed for athletics when it comes to track and field, and all these different athletic events. And right now they're making a surge into swimming. So it's an interesting situation, and but we never really did ourselves service by starting a brand, academy geared towards football in the various islands. From captain to cook, we're not leaving out any island here. All of the islands, all your football federations, you all need to step up. I know all these guys on my channel hear me talk for about a year and a half, 2 years now. That my dream is to somehow create a pathway for Trinidad, young Trinidadian footballers from the school football and league to advance themselves to Europe. And look, God is so good. You know what I mean, guys? And I had to say it like that. I moved to Germany for work and stuff like that. And boom, maybe somebody from Bayern Munich, from Borussia Dortmund was watching my stream one day and saying, "Oh, hey, this man onto something here. We could spend 20 million pounds, 20 million euros now. And in 10 years, we earning billions." Because you could imagine that they open an academy in the Caribbean and they have 40, 50 players on offer at the same talent level at what on offer in in Europe, coming through their ranks yearly. You know what I mean? 10, 20 players, because the academy is set to host a whopping 400 academy members in terms of footballers, or, athletes playing football at various different levels. And 500 is a big number to begin with, because in my honest opinion, that has to be a very huge academy. Of course, they're not all going to be training on the same days, but just that number alone signifies the intent and what Borussia Dortmund is going to do. I'm telling you guys, they just take my idea and they had the money to do it. But I'm happy anyway, because you know what? My country and the Caribbean is going to benefit greatly. In 10 years' time, some of the talent that we have that probably would have been, I would say, at least championship level, they are going to be top draw. They're going to be like almost ready to play Premier League. To be players that could come into a Premier League team and either fight for their place or probably level themselves up and become a mainstay. And that is dramatic, because that is going to make the level of football in Caribbean go up 5, 10 levels. I don't even think America and Canada are ready for that boom that is going to happen in the Caribbean in the next 3 to 5 years. Because just saying, for the next World Cup, which is in 2030, yeah, it could be a situation where the Caribbean teams, 3 to 4, 5 times stronger than they are currently right now, and that might put them on par with USA. And that is drastic. And the reason why I say that, guys, because a lot of young talent in the Caribbean are playing at clubs in Holland, playing at clubs in Belgium, in France, in England, in Spain as well. And it's one of those things where the connection, in some cases, they don't really feel the lust or the hunger to play for a national team, because like you all heard about the issue with this guy who plays at Aston Villa, Leon Bailey. He's right in a way, but in a way, it's like, the Caribbean islands, I could speak for them because I'm from an island myself. We don't have the funding or the amount of people that would, really make selling merchandise for the national team be very profitable. I mean, 1.2 million people, let's just say 20 to 35, 40% of people will spend on merch. It's not that much in consideration when you look at England. Like one city in England is it 500,000 people spending money on England merch. You know what I mean? And that's just one major city. So when it comes like that, and I want to say it like that, I'm using Trinidad as an example because Trinidad is the wealthiest Caribbean island and has been forever and ever, always. And it's like Jamaica might be the one island that has a size of a population that is close to a major city in the world, but still, what I mean, they have done worse with their efforts. It's only in the last 5, 10 years they started really improving their economics, especially with certain initiatives that they've gone through. Now they've discovered oil as well. So lots of good things happening there, and they've been investing in sports for the last 10 years, and you can see the improvements. You can see it across the board in athletics and swimming and in football. Jamaica has been coming to the fore. So now it's time for all the other islands to wake up. And with the arrival of this academy from Borussia Dortmund, I am thankful for that, and I hope more football clubs. Milan, I used to once be a member of the AC Milan Academy in Trinidad and Tobago. It was a small academy, and it was true flipper, but you know what I mean. It was one of those things where you had a pathway to go out into Italy and ply your trade if you worked hard enough. So for these things to come back to the Caribbean, I'm happy for it. I think it's going to benefit us all. And I think, it's going to be more fun talking about possible signings coming from Caribbean islands in the next 10 years. If we're still, you guys are still tuning into my channel at that time, God spare life. But yeah, it will be fun to talk about, hey, a player just got signed from Barbados or from Trinidad or from St. Kitts or from St. Lucia or Guadeloupe or Martinique. You know what I mean? Or Haiti. These things are going to be really, really interesting. And guys, you know what I mean? There are lots of news to talk about. There's lots of reports going to be coming in. But I keep saying this after every stream. Please don't stress yourselves, guys. The window is going to be a little bit long. There's another month and a half to go in this transfer window. Of course, we expect some signings to happen early, but there's always going to be rumors, and there's always going to be a situation that delays Man United in the transfer window, as we all experienced for years previously. So I would say to you
Before we
guys,
wrap this,
take it in stride.
before we wrap this,
Mhm.
yeah. How
Yeah.
many? How many? Because you said it's a month and a half now. How many guys do
Mhm.
you think come in the door before the window closes, and how many guys do you think leave before the window closes?
Well, initially, before the window began, I had a little bit of a thing in my head. But with the Champions League money, I expected to see wholesale changes. I expected to see 6 to 7 players leave and 10 and possibly 8 to 10 players come in. But that would be because we had somewhere in the region of maybe 180 to 200 million plus pounds coming into the club from prize money and money endorsements and these things for making the Champions League, winning the Europa League and these things. But now that we don't have that coming in, I think and maybe we might see 3 to 4 players, maybe five if we're lucky, actually sold or moved on, because there has been some rumors that they're trying to force the movements of Marcus Rashford as well as Garnacho, Anthony, Jadon Sancho, and maybe Rasmus Højlund. So hopefully, we see some movements, but I expect us to sign at least 5 players, base value, basic, because I think we need a striker. We needed 2 number 10s. I think we still need a midfielder who can play that box to box role and come into games as a backup option. You know what I mean? And I still think we need a senior left wing back or centre back. Either one will do, in my honest opinion, because I think if we get a senior centre back, it makes us solid generally, and then the player who currently in the left back position could develop and take his time because you'll have experience leading him and covering for him. But if we could same way, I think it would work if we had a senior left wing back and then we still had Harry Maguire and whoever else in that defense. So yeah, that would be my perspective outlook on the possible signings and outgoings for Man United this summer. I know lots
So
of you might think it doesn't seem that much.
you think definite we're getting how many? What's the numbers? How many's
Five
coming in
players.
and how
I
many's
think
leaving?
definitely 5 players coming in and a
Well,
definite 4 players
so
leaving.
after Mbuemo, including Mbuemo.
No, including Mbemo, yeah.
Okay, so including Mbuemo and including Cunha, so another what? 3 players.
Yeah, including Mbemo, another 3 players guaranteed. That is my
Oh,
guarantee. What I
what in?
believe
So in
will
a month
happen.
and a half, yeah, you think Man United is gonna sign another 4 players?
See, the reason why I say these things, bro, is because I understand Man United, but more so I understand what the negotiations has happened between clubs. I have some friends who are intermediaries and who work in the transfer world as well. So Prospectively, I would say to guys that, these deals could be much simpler, could be much faster, especially if Man United had cash in hand. But because Man United is in a situation where we are trying to manage FFP by signing players on layaway or hire purchase, or how you put it, on what is call it again? Amortization, basically, right? Then this makes it difficult because we are always going to have to pay over the odds for every player, because no club is wanting to sign a player or to sell a player for part of the money. You understand? If a club sells their best player, they would like to get that money to use it now. They might not be at the same ability to negotiate half of the money now with our next club and half of the money over the other half over a period of years. So they are thinking they will have to pay full out for whoever player they're bringing in. So it's a situation where it's very difficult for United to really operate in the way that they should operate. Now, I'm not making an excuse for the owners, because they put us in, not the owners, but the guys. I have to separate this. I'm putting this blame on the structure and the board. Now, I know that this new in-year structure just came in, but yeah, they have been wasting a lot of money in the last two seasons, in the last season and a half. They wasted a lot of money. And they are showing a lot of similarities in wasting money, like the board wasted money before them. So it's one of those things where I look at it from this perspective and I say to you guys, if we had a more creative, intelligent bunch of leaders, or someone who was more charismatic and confident, that was able to dictate to these guys, maybe United would actually be very creative and very decisive and will get players in early, because sometimes you have to take risks. But I think that the people at Man United, they're cowards, in my honest opinion. In recent years, they are cowards because the risks that they take don't never really pay big dividends. They usually either borderline fail or borderline pass. And it's so weird. Their level of a minimal risk is spending 70 million than spending 30 or 15. It's weird to me. Like, how could it be more risk to spend 15 or 20, but then you guys go and spend 40 and 70? Ridiculous businesses. You know what I mean?
What about the
Selling
outgoings?
the outgoings, like I said, bro, I think we will see four outgoings. I think Rashford is going. I believe in with everything that Garnacho will be sold, because I think what Amorim said is going to stand, and I think the club is going to back him on that. I
Kobe?
expect Mason Mount to be sold. It's going to be a shock deal, but I hear that Bayern is not only interested in Marcus Rashford, but they're also interested in Mason Mount, and there's
Kobe?
also two other clubs interested in him as well. Huh?
Kobe?
Kobe might be sold. I think that's a possibility as well. We know Amarim likes Kobe a lot, so it's an interesting one. There are certain players that Amarim likes a lot that it don't look like them players up for sale, or even you know they will be even listening to offers for. But
Rasmus?
yeah, well, I don't know if they will sell him, but we need to sell four players, bro. If he's one of them, he's one of them. But
Well,
I think before my four was Rashford, Garnacho, Mason Mount, and Anthony. That was my four players that I was thinking that they would sell for
what
sure
that
this
you
summer.
definitely sell. Ah, see?
No, this is what I
Now,
think. This is what I
so,
was convinced that the club would sell based on profit and loss, and what would
okay,
benefit us in terms of financially going forward. Yeah,
okay.
because like I said, I put that part first. If whoever the four become, I mean, I could only watch. You know what I mean? But that's why I thought them four.
I
And
mean, I can't see Mason Mount going anywhere. Just like for whatever reason, I can't see Luke Shaw going anywhere, even though both of them should be gone in theory, right? But I
both of
can't
them,
see that happening. However, I got a feeling that Garnacho is going to go. Obviously, Rashford is probably nailed on exit, no matter what. Jadon Sancho, I believe, is probably going to leave with the final days of the window. I know people are like, "Oh, he's gonna train again. He's gonna stay." No, 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 none of that. That's just a that's just a full gazy. He's gonna leave. Then we've got Anthony, who's most definitely going to leave. The ghost man Malasia, he might leave
He
last.
already sold. He's supposed to be put. PSB supposed to be signing him on a permanent deal.
Okay, I didn't hear that he's guaranteed
It
go.
was
I
a loan
think
with a option to buy or obligation to buy, and I think they're gonna trigger it. So that's why I ain't
okay.
heard
You
much news
sure they're not
about him. I
gonna pay
believe.
to send him back or anything dodgy
Well,
like that?
I mean, he was performing, he wasn't working. So maybe when they perform over that, over twerk, you know what I mean? You can't fake it to make it in football. You might be able to do
Yeah,
that in rap music and in and as a DJ and these things. You might be able to fake your jewels to make it and all these things like most people do. But in football, you can't fake skills. You can't fake quality. You know what I mean? You can't fake
yeah.
effort.
Sometimes you can, you got these Moissanite ballers, yeah, who are coming to Manchester United on a 70 odd million thing, and then we watch them over the course of 2 seasons, and we're like, this ain't no real diamond. These men are failing the diamond test week in week out, and brothers are trying to pretend like it's real diamonds, it's real stones. These men are trying to
No,
pretend
no, no,
like
no.
certain man are VVS, yeah, when we
VVS.
certain man are trying to pretend like they're VS1, yeah, when we know they're fucking Moissanite diamonds, yeah,
Bro,
there's
they're not
some
even
fakes here.
moissanite, bro. They're zirconias, boy. You understand
Yeah,
what I'm saying?
exactly,
So,
exactly.
in my honest opinion, bro, let me tell you something, yeah, bro. I think a lot of fans, in my honest opinion, will just be too upset. Yeah, first of all, we be too emotional in some situations. No, I can't help it. I be emotional as well when it comes to Man United. So I say that is being slightly on the hypocritical side. But what I would say is this. Yeah. Sometimes I think we have to look at players now going forward, like what value they present on us winning. What is the likelihood of them contributing to us doing better on the pitch? And that is how I think we should be viewing players and criticizing them going forward. Because when it comes to what a player does on social media, of course, we don't want them to be doing crazy stuff. But certain things I think we could, when they're on vacation, out of the country, on vacation with family, let them have their private life, guys. You know what I mean? Just let them be. Ignore them because they're on vacation. When you're on vacation, you want to spree. Everyone wants to spree, including me. So you go on vacation, spree. Let them be on vacation and have a spree. You know what I mean? And when we come back to day one, preseason, they'll be rested, relaxed, and energetic and ready to go again. Just like how we always be when we come off vacation for a good while and we had a good time. So no one wants to be controlled or ruled while they're on vacation and people dampening their happy their R&R with one set of foolish talk because they post they post a naked picture or some kind of thing. Man, fellas, it's the summer, it's hot. Go out and have ice cream. Enjoy all yourselves with the family. Stop paying attention to some of these footballers during the summer, bro. They ain't playing no matches. That makes sense. It's not important. You know what I mean? Get your money's worth and get your life's worth. Enjoy the days. It's what I mean. We're not here forever. So make sure and have an amazing and interesting time while you're watching the views. You're doing this stuff. Because realistically, guys, every day is a treasure for us. You know what I mean? No man knows when it's his last day. So enjoy it while it lasts, guys, however long it will be and however long or short it might be. And this is your boy Mark Ken. Big up to you guys. I hope you guys have an interesting evening, an enjoyable time. I'm glad to see you guys here. I hope to see you guys tomorrow. We'll be back with more news. Oh, my bad, guys. Tomorrow I will be giving you a short because I'll be going to Kendrick Lamar live in Cologne. So big up to you guys. Have a wonderful day. I'm sorry, guys. I'm not trying to make fun of you by saying that. But I will be back on Thursday, of course. I'm trying to give you guys streams every day. We're not just going to be talking transfers, we're going to be talking football. So if you guys have opinions, have views, have ideas, come in the chat, give us your opinions. Even if you want to ask questions or tell us what's on your mind, we're here for it, guys. This is the big family here. Come join us every day, have fun, and let's footy talk. Big up to you guys, and I'll catch you all later.
Aldana out.
Baby.